They're making so much true crime documentaries, like on all like Netflix and etc. Like I can't get away from it.
All my parents watch all fucking day. Watch anime. I can give you some sick ones.
Just be like, hey guys, gotta expand your taste, and just put on Boku no Pico and walk away.
What's good, man? It's your boy Juicy J, man. Shout out to Virtual Homework Podcast.
Welcome to the
extremely enthusiastic podcast.
See, I've said it a million times. I don't know how to fucking enter these things. It's like you're always like, "Hey, everybody!" Beep, beep, beep. Like fucking
that's the
explosions,
problem.
like YouTube style.
I'm like, I need to be extremely enthusiastic about it, and you're like, I don't want to do this. So
hey everybody, welcome to the fucking thing.
Yeah. So it's either this is way too much energy, I'm out, or it's like, this is no energy, I'm out. So for those who have somehow made it past that intro, welcome to the Virtual Homework Podcast.
Welcome.
For all your virtual homework podcasting needs, I am Sam.
I'm Dana.
And we got a lot to cover today.
Dude, we have an unbelievable amount to cover in the fast food world.
In the fast food world, in the real world, because some shit went down, video game related, of course. But more importantly, in the Wadum world, have you played any Wadum since last week?
Absolutely not.
Fuck you, that's a lie. We actually played this game for like half an hour after the podcast last week.
Okay, like, yeah, that. Not like after that. We played Wadum together. You know, we moved around, we jumped, we tried to stack some shit, and we ate each other, pooped, you know.
Would you say your view of the game changed at all based on that experience?
Not at all.
Okay. I don't know. I personally think that Wadum is like a seriously fun co-op game. I feel like being in the same room would be better because Steam Remote Play is like the worst.
No, it was fun and stuff like that, but it's like after 10 minutes we're like, well, now what?
Yeah, okay. I get that. I only say that because like not only did I do that, but I also went ahead and like tried to get a lot of the achievements that I didn't get. I made the wrong take last week where I'm like, oh, I actually got these achievements, but Steam is glitching out. That was not the case. Like, I thought I got every single character, and I didn't realize that like there were parts of the menu that I wasn't able to access before. So like, I apologize for being a rampant disinformation machine.
So what did you have to do? I need the explanation.
Well, they're like, you had to eat certain things as a tree and turn them into other objects. I don't know. It doesn't matter. All I'm trying to say is I'm the worst. And I will lash myself on the back 10 times in order to repent for my sins.
That's a little insane.
I mean, like, it really does tie into the game we played this week. What did we play this week?
How are you supposed to cover that? We played MC Kids, the McDonald's fucking game for the NES.
So two things.
Game of my choice.
Yeah, two things. One, thank you for pronouncing this game correctly. I've been calling it McKids until I read the manual and it said MC
Absolutely.
Kids, and it's like in parentheses EMMCEE. So it's like, oh, it's supposed to be MC Kids, even though for a McDonald's based game.
What's MC mean? What the fuck does MC stand for?
Well, I don't know. There's like an MC at a bar mitzvah.
Well, no, but like, so I thought it was McKids
because of
like
course
McChicken.
It is. It's McDonald's. Why would it not be McKids?
What is MC Kids? Like, what does the M stand for? McDonald's Crazy Kids?
McDonald's Crazy Kids. That's the most family appropriate we could make this name, because I have some things to say. But the second thing on this game is that did you pick this game due to the fact that like McDonald's video gaming has been in the news recently?
No, not at all. I think I was watching a random streamer just pick it up. I like turned on a random stream and someone was playing it and I was like, this game looks obscene. I'm going to pick this for the podcast.
All right. I mean, that's fair. But if you didn't know, there was actually a recent... So we actually talked a little bit like a week or two ago about like weird, obscure games being like dug up that were previously lost. And there was a McDonald's game created by McDonald's Corp to train staff. And it had like different like settings. It was on the Nintendo DS.
What?
Yeah, no, like there's like a 50-minute documentary.
Can we play that for the podcast? That sounds fucking amazing.
So first of all, it is a legit game. It's a training game which actually like teaches you how to like use the McDonald's equipment. And it's like for the Nintendo DS, it was previously lost, and it's still a super rare game. But the funny thing is, like, there's an egg cooking section, and it's apparently like near impossible to do right because of like the rules set in place. Like, It's like a full-fledged legit game. I recommend. I'll post the documentary in the description here somehow.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at
It's
that. I
50
love Super
fucking
Obtuse.
minutes.
What the fuck? Oh, is that documentary? It was like the Lost McDonald's game or something like
what
that.
What other documentary about a lost McDonald's game would I be talking about?
Well, I don't know. I never saw the video, but all the same shit gets in our recommended because we are identical people and we look at identical videos.
True, but this is like actually like a very legit video that is worth checking out. But I thought I would ask because I'm like, oh, this is like big in the video gaming news space. I wonder if that made any influence on why I chose this game.
No.
But that's besides the point. We played MC Kids this week, not McKids. What is McKids? Give us a plot summary.
So basically, the Hamburglar has stolen Ronald McDonald's magic bag, and it is your job to travel from world to world, land to land, zone to zone, collecting puzzle cards. So different McDonald's characters will allow you to go to the next area and find the Hamburglar for some reason.
And how do you collect
I don't know, man.
McDonald's cards?
Wait, what? What do you mean? You just go to the fucking level and you find them randomly in the fucking level.
I was
like the levels are literally like 4 seconds long unless you have to find the card.
Okay, well, I was trying to transition into what the gameplay was. This is a
I thought you were calling me an idiot. It's like, well, Dana, what does the game do?
We're having our first quarrel on the podcast about transitions of all things, but no. This is a 2D side-scrolling platformer where, as Dana said, the levels are very short. You're able to access levels non-chronologically, so a certain area will have a map, and you're able to select one to...
Very much so like Mario Brothers 3.
Or Super Mario Land 2. That's probably another good example. Yeah, basically you're able to select certain levels, or certain choices of levels, and then go into them. They are progressing in difficulty, where I think the levels later...
Absolutely.
The levels later in the game and later in the worlds are harder than the beginning levels in the worlds. But it's a very standard 2D platformer. You have the ability to run, even though there is no run button. If you just keep going to the right, you will eventually gain speed. This
game has weird momentum mechanics and stuff like that, as far as like jumping and like running and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's partly because the running is not something you necessarily control. It's like you basically pick up speed the more you go one direction. So
yeah, like this game is weirdly floaty, which was like one of my biggest like cons for it, I guess, is like you just jump and it feels weird. I'm not sure if that's just due to the limitations of the platform in which we were playing it on, but I don't know. It felt like weirdly floaty for me.
So yeah, it has some floaty mechanics, but I feel like the issue with floaty mechanics isn't necessarily like being able to, like, floaty inherently means you're able to have like too much control in the air, I feel. But the issue is you jump high and the field of view is so small that there are a lot of blind jumps in this game. And that's the problem that pretty much every single floaty game has, is floaty plus blind jumps. You see that in like Bubsy, for example, where you just fly in the air and it's like, oh shit, I have no idea where I'm landing. So that's this game. It's a standard platformer. It has some weird elements to it in that, like, you're able to basically do... have you played V6? V?
I have not, no.
Oh, it actually shares very similar mechanics in that you're able to reverse gravity. So if you...
Which was super, actually kind of cool, except like... This game has just like instant pitfall deaths that you're just like, oh, I didn't know that was there. All right, I lose a life. And they become more frequent as soon as you reverse the gravity. Like you kind of like, all right, I reversed the gravity. All right, let me go off this platform. Oh, okay, I fly to my death. Like,
yeah, it's one thing to have like pitfall deaths, but it's another thing to have pitfall deaths with a small field of view. So like when the game requires you to do blind jumps, and then like some of the blind jumps will inevitably kill you because you'll land in a pit, it kind of feels frustrating to play. But this game, in all its bumps and bruises, I actually really enjoyed it as an NES platformer. What do you think about this game?
No, it wasn't terrible and stuff like that. Maybe I'm just not a fan of these types of games as much as some other people. Like, I only got to like World 4. I didn't beat it because I was just like, I think I got what I wanted out of it and stuff like that. It was fun. I just felt like a lot of things were kind of useless. It seemed like the M's, you see there are these like coins that are just like McDonald's M arches. They seem kind of useless to collect. I'm assuming if you had 100, you get like an extra life or something like that.
Yep.
But the other thing is that like, so this game knows it's bullshit. So there are multiple levels. At the very beginning of the level, there's like 2 lives.
Yeah, life farm level, you fall in a pit after getting 2 lives, get eaten by a piranha.
Yeah, like, so you just do that over and over and over and over and over. I will say, like, the levels really aren't too interesting. like there's like a forest level, there's a water level, and it's just like they kind of just recycle the same themes over and over. There might be like a new mechanic, whether it's like a floating leaf or something like that, but all in all, almost every level is like pretty same. It's not a bad game and stuff like that, but just I'm not a fan of blind jumps. It's just such bullshit. It's like, all right, I'm going to 100% die there, and then I'm going to have to redo it again, and just okay, I have 1 life left. Let me go life farm. Let me go back. You know what I mean? Like, it becomes very tedious.
I agree somewhat, but I have a couple points on that. First of all, I 100% of this game, like actually.
Oh, nice.
So
did you even do like the secret levels and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did the secret worlds as well. The levels themselves were pretty basic. I want to just emphasize that this is like a legit game. When you think of McDonald's making a game for NES,
absolutely.
Like you kind of expect like a Captain Novoland situation or like some random ass like bullshit corporate game from like these retro consoles.
No, this is not like as a game, this is not a bad game. Like if you like rented this game as a kid, you probably would not be disappointed. Like I had a lot of fun with some parts of it. It just, sitting down for like 2 hours of it, I was like, I need to take a break, and then, so on and so forth. So
yeah, I feel like as a platformer, it does. I'm not going to say it stands out. In fact, it's very similar to a lot of other like mediocre to good platformers on the system. But like, it holds its own is a better way to put it.
Absolutely.
The game does get a little bit frustrating when you're collecting these puzzle pieces. The way that you progress is that these characters will say, "Hey, we have this puzzle. If you collect 5 pieces, you'll be able to advance." So like you'll have 6 levels in a world or 5 levels in a world. It actually decreases over time, and you'll have a certain amount of puzzle pieces you have to collect. So it'll go from having to collect puzzle pieces in half the levels to having to collect them in all the levels. But when you actually start collecting puzzle pieces and like trying to progress, trying to get that 100%, that's when it gets really, really frustrating because some of these puzzle pieces are placed in really bullshit spots, and you have to basically...
Yeah, some of them are like obscenely easy, and the other ones are like super fucking hard for like no reason. Like some of them will just be like right next to the exit of the level, and others will be in like secret zones, which there are a crap ton of secrets in this game. There's like little zippers you'll find like hidden on like a ledge that you like have to like super jump to get to. They'll take you to like a secret area that might have like an additional card or like some other coins and stuff like that. A lot of them seem kind of useless, but just like another little thing that was kind of cool about the game.
Yeah, I feel like part of the reason why this game kind of feels better than a lot of the games of the same time. This game doesn't have a timer, and I feel like that actually helps it rather than hurts it. Like
absolutely,
I was just like taking my time relaxing through these levels and just like exploring. And I feel like games, obviously I like Mario, but one of the things about Mario is that I kind of feel anxious exploring just due to the fact that like I'm not...
Because you have such a time frame and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I will say that this game gets absolutely bullshit hard after the area you quit. Actually, World 4, I forget which one that was. I think that's the one with like a boat.
Yeah, that's the one with the boat with like the professor and stuff like that. Like each zone is going to be like representative of a different McDonald's character. Like the first zone is Ronald McDonald. The second zone is Big Tweety, whatever the fucking McDonald's bird.
Grimace.
And then
I don't.
Grimace is World 3, and then it's the professor. And then because I got to World 4. I played like the first 3 levels. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm going to watch the speed run. And then after that, you go to the fucking moon.
Yeah, okay. So there's a couple things here. First of all, the world that you quit in, World 4, introduces... Well, the mechanic was introduced in previous worlds, but it really expands on this boat concept where you basically have to go through the water on a boat, and there's this one-shot enemy that's a piranha that you have to avoid.
Yeah.
And... it's honestly impressive how each game from like the NES, SNES era, even kind of expanding to the current era of platformers, they all have their own variation of water level, and they all somehow suck. Like, this is nothing like a water level in Mario.
Yep.
They just all suck.
Every water level sucks. Yeah, every water level in like every game that has ever existed just sucks.
Yeah, and it's like, it's impressive because they all try their own variation, and they all somehow are way more frustrating than the rest of the game. But I will say it's way more frustrating up to the rest of the game to that point, because once you get past that world, that's when they really start shitting the fan. The moon world has extreme low grav, so I'm not talking like, oh, you jump twice as high. You jump like 8 times as high.
Yeah, I was watching a video of it. Dude flew across the entire screen. It's like, oh my god, I just imagine myself flying into enemies because it's all blind.
Yeah. And like the levels, like they kind of take advantage of the fact that it's blind, and they put like bullshit there. So like, oh, you got to retry because it's an NES game. It's got to be NES hard. So there's a lot of bullshit, trial and error. But then after that, plot twist. If you don't want spoilers for MC Kids, you're gonna have to pause. Maybe
we'll skip it to a time.
Exactly. I'll give you a timestamp for spoilers here. But the magic bag was lost due to the fact that Hamburglar was hiding out in a volcano.
Can we talk about the volcano for a fucking second?
That's what I was going to talk
level
about.
is nightmare fuel. Like, if I was a child, I would be fucking terrified of that level. Like, the music is actually menacing and fucking terrifying for a McDonald's kids game. Like, there's like angry skull platforms that disintegrate. Like, that shit looks legit scary.
No, it's legit scary and legit bullshit. I was really not enjoying the volcano section, which, if you're a logical villain, you would go inside a volcano and hang out in it, right?
Absolutely.
And then lose the magic
especially
bag.
if I was stealing hamburgers.
Yeah, well, it was the worst. I feel like this is a trope in a lot of old platformers. Like the one that flashbacks to me is the Flintstones the movie game on Super Nintendo. Where they have like, the thing is, it's not just like bullshit hard, but they also add in like super long auto scrollers, which this game had as well in the volcanic section, and then it had like a really bullshit boss fight at the end. But in general, this game was fun, and then it got to the end, and it's like they're trying to make this game impossible to like have to play it over and over again, and they really up the bullshit and lowered the fun to increase longevity. I will say, though, beating that area and then going to the secret world, those levels were a bit more creative, and I actually enjoyed that part of the game.
Yeah, I was watching like some of the secret levels and stuff like that. I kind of wish they did more than just 3, and that there were, because I like the concept of like no enemies. It's just like pure platforming, which is like one of my favorite parts of the games, was just the pure platforming sections, not the bullshit, not like running into enemies that are like, okay, this is precariously placed next to ice or something like that. So I just think it'd be cool with more of those kind of levels. I will say the music in this game is, there's only like 3 or 4 tracks. Some of the songs on some of these levels fucking slap though.
They 100% slap. Like, I love old chiptunes, especially when they have like this arpeggio thing going in the background where it's like really fast and it's like
it sounds like Rainbow Hyperspeed or something like
exactly.
that.
And that definitely came out here. I feel like the sound director is someone I know. Like, it has a very similar style to other games. I'm wondering who it is.
It straight up sounds like, is it Rainbow Hyperspeed or Rainbow Hyperspace, where it's like like that arpeggio, like super super fast. Really, really cool.
I'm looking at the composer now, and I actually don't recognize them, but they did good work. I do appreciate the work done on MC Kids from a
that's one of the reasons I
perspective.
love playing these old NES games, because like even games we've never played before, like you come back to them, like the music in this game is fucking awesome. Like the amount of effort they had to put into these chip tunes because they have like a lack of resources is so creative and just sounds so cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if part of it is that this game was like actually super late to the NES.
It was like 91 or something ridiculous,
92
right?
and 93 in Europe. Like the
Christ.
Super Nintendo was already out for 2 years. It's not the oldest game. Wario Words is the oldest NES game, and that came out way late on the system. But yeah, like
I will say the graphics aren't really anything to write home about. Like, I've seen older NES titles that have physically better graphics as far as like vibrant, interesting backgrounds and stuff like that. It was like a lot of brown, a lot of green, light blue. Like the sprites weren't that interesting, which is like a minor thing. But like for example, like Fire and Ice came out like way before this, and that game is gorgeous compared to this.
So the thing is, I agree with you that the graphics weren't that much to write home about, but I think that like the general backgrounds and sprites that weren't trying to be realistic were fine. Like, I thought that the M arches looked good. The issue I have with a lot of these NES games is when they try to do realistic humans, because it's not like a issue of like skin color or anything, but like they don't have an exact like or close skin color tone in these games, and they end up like having these really drab looking colors. This happened to like the game.
It's like an olive color.
Yeah, it's like an olive color. Like, I think of the game like Wally and the No Bear Gang, which I'm not sure if you've seen, like where everything kind of looks dark. Like, okay, I'm not talking skin color. I'm just talking like a drab environment, and I feel
like I said, like everything looks like it has like an olive tone to like everything. It's like very dark. It's brown. It's like even like the cloud worlds and stuff like that felt like very dark.
Yeah, it could have been better, but honestly, I was just really happy that this game was a legit game. Like for
Right?
being a
well, I thought it was a
McDonald's
meme.
game.
I thought it was going to be a meme, but it ended up being like this isn't like game of the year for me, but it is definitely playable. Like I'm actually loving finding these random NES games that end up being like super fun.
I'm loving it, except for like I don't know how many people are going to be because business meeting. How many people are looking at this and be like, "Oh, MC Kids, I love that game. Let me listen to what these people have to say."
I don't give a fuck.
He doesn't give a fuck.
So
Put it on
okay,
his
next
gravestone.
10 episodes. So we're playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3. We're playing 18 months of Call of Duty.
Yeah,
nothing but.
I told you last episode that my New Year's resolution was to completely sell out. Next week is Fortnite, even though that's no longer cool. The week after that's
we gotta play Rust.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna infiltrate the Pokemon server. It's gonna be amazing. I have no idea. I really don't. What happened this week?
What do you mean what happened? The fucking Bedlam fucking exploded, craziness, and motherfuckers raided the Capitol. Like, this is a movie. This is like
back up
shit
a
that
little
happens
bit. Let's back up a little bit, because this is a gaming podcast. So what happened in the gaming space? We all know that a very popular streamer, Donald Trump, got banned on Twitch for the second time. Let's talk about the reason why.
One of the most popular gaming streamers on the platform, Twitch TV, Donald Trump, you may have heard of him. He has a couple of followers and stuff like that. So apparently he was president of the United States, and he kind of like ran an insurrection of the U.S. Capitol.
This is a bad bit. Pretending not to know who Donald Trump is.
Shut the fuck up. Well, motherfucker, like, basically incited people to go, like, raid the Capitol, and now people are surprised that they're getting arrested for it. It's like, oh no, what do you think would happen when you're raiding, federal grounds and destroying it? Like, you're doing capital offenses. It's a sad day that the rest of the world is kind of laughing at us at, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I feel like anyone who listens to this podcast knows where we lean politically, but also everyone who's listened to this podcast, because you're smart people, are probably relatively politically active, and you've heard people talk about this like 9 to 15 times. That's a very weird range, but that's the range I went with. So I'm gonna say right now that I feel like we don't have anything to add. We are not people who like are so profound in our political opinions that it's gonna be like some revelation that goes through your head.
I'm gonna have a hot take right now.
Okay.
I think they're big poopy heads for doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like I live in the DC area, and I've never gone to like the Capitol building and be like, this shit looks good to raid. I've always been like, oh, I should organize a tour. That's like very low on the totem pole.
You're like, this looks like some good nice place to visit. To maybe take some pictures, not like raid and like.
Yeah, I haven't been looking at it, being like, this would be like perfect place to like plant myself as a felon. But I mean, if we're talking like people who know what good raid zones look like, as a WoW professional guild member, as a raider in WoW, someone who has beaten N'Zoth, beaten Gahoon, I'm just saying words, I think these are right.
They are.
Does it look like a good raid from a gaming perspective?
No, it looks like the loot sucks, and you get a 5-year suspension for it. So I mean, it's not really worth our time to exploit like this,
Lol gaming humor. I just want to say I understand that like the media has a role in making our political process entertaining, and like some of the stuff that is just part of the political process has been dramatized. It's been made more dramatic than it actually is for purposes of ratings, etc. But it is just so crazy how inherently entertaining the world of politics has become.
Oh, it's literally all entertainment now. That's basically what it is.
No, but like I'm not even talking like from the whole like media perspective of like trying to like propagate this political machine. I'm talking like
no, it's literally entertaining, and people know that, so that's why they're doing what they're doing with it. Like it's like the worst kind of reality TV.
Yeah, it's like historical event after historical event. It's like I can't look away if this was a TV show. What the fuck?
It's like 2020 has literally been like there's probably a list of at least 20 historical events in the United States.
It's like that straight up South Park episode where like they have Earth as a show and they're like, oh, we're gonna cancel Earth. It's actually it's weird. It's just like
we're canceling the United States.
Yeah, we're canceling the United States. It's cancel culture. I mean, like people are getting canceled. like especially related to the insurrection against the United States, to bring this back to gaming in a miraculous way.
Such a good transition. Yeah. Let's talk about fucking Gootecks and PogChamp, guy.
So, for those who don't know, for those who don't use Twitch, which is, I don't know, 0 of you, PogChamp has been removed from the platform, kinda. The original PogChamp has been removed from the platform because...
Yeah, for those that don't know, PogChamp is an emote that is spammed in every single channel. It's of a younger man with black hair. He's kind of like open his mouth like, oh, and it's supposed to be like a hype moment, a crazy moment.
For those who don't know, an
it.
emote is a symbol that displays an emotion, so similar to surprise or excitement.
For those that don't know, an emotion is a feeling. No, we're not doing that. But
I don't know. I feel like we don't actually have to explain like what PogChamp is. Just the fact that,
well, like you don't know. Like my mom could be listening to this. She's like, "What's a PogChamp?"
Well,
like,
that's when you go and you explain it to her herself. But
I'm like, nah, bitch. I ain't telling you shit. Listen to the podcast.
Yeah, come on. We'll explain this really well as we just like digress for like 4 minutes off to random bullshit. But yeah, PogChamp was removed by Twitch due to the fact that Gootecks is kind of far out there.
Yeah, he turned into kind of like a conspiracy theorist. He's like anti-vax. He's like all this like right-wing conspiracy, like QAnon type shit. And the platform just kind of wants to distance himself from it, which is unfortunate because it's such an iconic emote. Anyone that is in the Twitch sphere knows that like PogChamp is like an integral part of the platform. But I kind of would like what they have done with it because they know how people identify with PogChamp so much. Is they're basically taking random streamers who have like a PogChamp type face, and every single day, or is it every month or whatever, they're gonna have a different emote for PogChamp in the same face though, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that the emote that we currently see today, which is I guess I'm not sure if it's still there. I don't know when it switches, but 1/10/2021 for me, it is this lady, and it looks pretty good as a PogChamp emote. The one they chose for the first PogChamp emote was like badly cropped and like not that great of an emote. I was surprised about that, but yeah,
I think they just kind of rushed it because like someone suggested on Twitter like day of, and like that day Twitter's like, yeah, we're gonna do this, which I think Twitter was just fucking Twitch was just looking for any
way out, to like any way to not have bad PR.
Yeah, so I mean it is a good move. I think
it's cool. One of the better Twitch moves in general. I want to clarify when you said it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate both that the iconic face is removed, but it's way more unfortunate that like the person behind the face
he went that way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, oh man, it sucks cancel culture, bro. No, I'm not like fucking that. Like that'd be awful.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think both you and I follow Gootecks a little bit longer than most of the people here. Like it was pretty inevitable that this was going to happen, based on Gootex's like path towards the darkness. It's one of the like, yeah, you could try your best. First of all, I don't know Gootecks personally. I bet a lot of people have tried to talk to him that were friends with him in the past, but like you could see a very public descent into madness in a way, and
very much
it was definitely one of those situations where it was sooner rather than later. The actual reason for the removal was him saying that like the Capitol has blood on their hands for murdering the person killed in the insurrection, and that the people have to fight back, etc., etc. Basically a call to violence.
Like he's basically call to violence. One thing I will say about the whole change of emo is that I hope they really pick like super small streamers, because even like I think this is a great way to get people thinking about smaller streamers. Like, who's this person? Who's this face? Maybe even have the emote have their Twitch channel attached to it somehow, where they can see where it's coming from, and they can get a little bit of
That's where it really should go, like where it actually like links to the person's Twitch, because like right now, like I think the emote's cool, but
I have no idea who that person is.
And I don't have any interest in looking, honestly. I'm not gonna Google who is PogChamp today, because I don't even think that's gonna come up. Like,
who's PogChamp? Do we gotta make that website? Who's PogChamp?
Who's
today?
PogChamp.today? Because I think that actually is like a domain now. But I mean, like, I don't think Twitch has been like super transparent on who it is. Maybe they do like a tweet or something. I feel like this...
Did they do a tweet?
Oh, they do? Okay. The main issue here is that, like, Twitch really needs to distance itself from faces of real people as their emotes. Kinda. This is not the first controversy regarding emotes
Faces.
regarding faces. The one I think of is I'm not sure if you remember the Resident Sleeper controversy that was a while ago.
Yeah. That, and then like some like the faces of like women who would be spam posted on like GDQ and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the one I'm talking about, there was a streamer called Oddshot, and he is the face of the emote Resident Sleeper, and about 2 years ago, I think they tried to renew all the rights to emotes, and they actually weren't able to get Resident Sleeper renewed because, like, obviously, if you're a human being and you have your face spammed millions of times per day, you want a cut of that, and you probably want a bigger cut than Twitch is willing to provide. So you go into contract negotiations, and this happened for a lot of emotes, and probably some were easier to do than others. But a weird case, the streamer, and I hope it's Oddshot. I hope I'm not like talking about the wrong streamer here.
Yeah, I don't remember what ended up happening of this. Now that you speak about it, I remember this controversy. Like, people were pissed off. It's like, oh, you want to make money off your face? It's like, yeah, you're using my likeness like all over a website.
So the issue was less so that the streamer wanted money, but it was very obvious. Actually, it wasn't even that it was very obvious from like what they were tweeting. The streamer themselves was like really against Twitch at this point. They're one of those people who is like, I personally have found a lot of like meaning in my life being off of the internet, and I feel like me being the face of Resident Sleeper is like encouraging people to stay on Twitch and not like live life. So he didn't want his emote used because of that. However,
so it's like a more like actual.
It was a moral
like,
reason rather than a monetary reason.
Yeah.
But what happened?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, like I appreciate that, but I disagree. But what happened with that is that like Twitch was like, all right, we're getting rid of Resident Sleeper, and they were like, we're gonna have a contest. And the best Resident Sleeper is going to be the new Resident Sleeper. And then, like, right before the finals, they were like, yeah, never mind, Resident Sleeper's back. So I assume he got a bag. He got, like, here's a fat sack of money, Resident Sleeper's in the bag. That's not even, like...
It has to be in, like, double digits, at least like that. Or not double digits, like, probably in, like, the tens of thousands, I would imagine. Like, if that was me, I wouldn't do that for $5,000.
And it was not Oddshot. It was Oddler Pro who was the person. Oh. And first of all, the emote was because someone fell asleep on stream, which is actually against TOS, or maybe it was at the time. I'm not sure if it still is.
It still is.
And that's obviously not the only emote controversy based on a face. Like, we had the original brain slug, which was a African-American male, and it was used for racist purposes because the internet's a terrible place, and he said he didn't want his face being that anymore because it was used for racism. Yep. Now Tryhard is kind of taking its place, but the creator's like, if someone's going to use a black person as racism, it doesn't matter who it is. It's just,
it should be literally anybody.
Yeah, so. But what I'm trying to say is, like, having someone, like a real human being behind an emote, that is where you get into a situation where, like, you're putting yourself at higher liability. So you've actually seen Twitch really cut down on the emotes based on people's faces. There was one recently.
Yeah, it's all like icons and like stuff like that, or like, you know, there's like K-pop ones that came out, but they're like drawn versus like actual faces and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's also a controversy regarding LOL after Total Biscuit passed, and they wanted to add it to a global emote. They used the drawn version because they couldn't get the rights to the normal version. But anyway, like, yeah, it's just terrible to have real people be behind these emotes. You actually have seen Twitch. I feel like the last emote created for a person, besides the recent Ninja one, and I feel like Ninja is a really big exception to like every single streaming precedent.
Yeah.
Was
it's an exception.
Yeah, there was like Future Man Gaming, which was like an animated emote of some guy doing a peace sign.
No idea who that is.
But yeah, Twitch is actually, I think they've realized this and they've really stopped. And it kind of sucks because I feel like having a real face can be a lot more expressive than an emote, like a drawn emote. Like, most of the emotes Twitch has created have sucked. Like, I actually think...
Well, to be fair, most individual streamers have, like, their face on some sort of emote in some sort of way. So it's like, I mean, you're still getting them and stuff like that. It's just not a global emote. I think the global... I don't want to say agenda of Twitch. Like, they want Twitch to be more, like, inclusive, maybe, and maybe people feel not as inclusive by having, I guess, someone's face. Like, oh, that's not me, that's them type thing. I don't know.
I guess, but... I mean, like, I don't know how many people like look at it.
It's supposed to make you feel special by being that one streamer's sub, and you get their face. No one else does.
I guess I could see that. Like, I feel like Twitch honestly doesn't really give that much of a shit for their globals, because like I have like so many terrible global emotes from weird promotions, and like I will never use these in my life.
No, I would
never ever
use
used these in my life. In fact, I have so many emo. Like, I've actually unsubbed to a lot of people just due to the fact that I've used Twitch a lot less than I used to, and like I still have too many emotes. Like my emote menu is unusable. I just use the emotes I memorized.
Yeah. No, speaking of emotes, in regards to like the whole Gootecks, PogChamp drama and stuff like that,
FFZ
and Better Twitch TV. FFZ actually took down all emotes regarding it, but Better Twitch TV was like, nah, we're gonna keep them up. Like, I don't care how like offensive people are by emotes, we don't take them down and stuff like that, because it just kind of emboldens people type thing. I don't know.
Yeah, there's multiple sides to the coin. You could say that like, by allowing them on your platform, you're allowing people who agree with Gootex's opinions to like use these emotes to signal that. I honestly think that anyone who uses Pog, or not anyone, but 99% of people who use Pog use it because they think the emote's funny, and like it's very hard to communicate a message of like, I agree.
I would be very much so surprised if like less than 100%. Like, there's got to be like 2 people on the platform that use it in like malicious.
I think it's going to be a very similar situation to Pepe being used as an alt-right figure. Like yeah, there are people on the alt-right who love Pepe. Like, there's this Kekistan flag that looks very similar to like the Third Reich flag or something like that.
Yeah, that's just like old 4chan and stuff like that. But I mean, like, literally every streamer has a Pepe emote.
I think it's going to be one of those things where like people who are using Pog are not necessarily white supremacists, but white supremacists especially are going to like PogChamp after this.
Yeah, they're just going to be like, they're going to be pogging in /poll, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, the vast majority of people who are using PogChamp after this are using it because they used the emote before. And we're talking about the Gootecks PogChamp. We're not talking about the PogChamps that are now
correct.
It's the debate of what is the responsibility of a platform to moderate its users. I mean, like, it goes into the fact that like, going back to Twitch streamer Donald Trump getting banned on Twitch, his actions on the Capitol have also gotten him banned on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, etc. After this, Parler has gotten banned.
Instacart?
Yeah, Instacart.
Dude,
Olive Garden, but not actually. That was fake news, and I spread it. Just like you would spread
that was a funny fucking tweet, though.
Butter on a fucking garlic bread at Olive Garden. I spread that fake news. It was really funny, I'll admit that. So I don't care that much. There's not much of a consequence for me spreading fake news that Trump is banned from his unlimited pasta past as president.
Speaking of not being allowed to do things, Bean Dad.
Okay, I just want to say we acknowledge that Parler is banned. Can we just say that?
Oh, I thought we said that earlier. Oh no, we said that in the pre-podcast. I fucked up. Cut this out. Parler, man. Parler's gone.
It's gone. I don't give a shit. Do you give a shit?
No, like, it's a cesspool of like death threats.
Okay, so there's an argument to be had that like Parler as a social media platform caters to certain views, and by deplatforming them, you are basically taking an entire group of people and you're making it so they aren't allowed to have opinions. And like, people are saying, oh, this is part of a dictatorial state, this is part of a totalitarian like transition, but at the same time, nah.
Aren't these the same people that said that people, if they don't like it, go somewhere else? Isn't that what they said about people, like gay people and making cakes or whatever like that?
Yeah.
Just go somewhere else, man. Sorry, man. Sorry.
Nah.
The market, the market speaks for itself. Fuck off.
Speaking of the market, the bean market. The bean market.
Can we actually just stop for a second? Sam is wearing the most insane fucking shirt I've ever seen in my life.
Okay,
right
so a very long time ago, I made a weird ass like thumbnail to a certain episode of the Virtual Homework Podcast. And it was very, very, very obscure in that I don't think a single person noticed it. And I just like said one day I had a Fiverr addiction and I bought like a weird thumbnail for a podcast. I was so proud of the $5 I spent on the thumbnail that I made it into a t-shirt, and I look like a badass wearing my bean shirt.
Yeah, what does it say?
The Big Bean Hour, featuring beans, virtual homework on beans, and bean time.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, so what the fuck is this deal with Bean Dad? Like, everyone's like freaking out because he wouldn't like let his daughter eat beans for like 6 hours or something like that.
So there's a multi-layered story here.
I need to hear it from the beginning. Go.
Originally, there was this guy named Bean Dad, and that's his real name. Coincidentally, it's not, but that's what I'm gonna call him. Bean Dad was like, my daughter is hungry, I'm doing a puzzle, and she's like, oh, I'm hungry, and he's like, I have beans, and she's like, I don't know how to open the can of beans, and instead of being like, here's how to open the can of beans. It's like, you figure it out. And like they went like deep into the anatomy of the can opener, and like 6 hours later she finally opened the beans and she was happy, but there was a lot of turmoil in between. And I originally read the story and I'm like, I don't really understand the big deal, but I realized after saying that I totally skimmed the story and I missed the parts where like Bean daughter was like crying, being like, I'm hungry, I hate you, please just tell me how to open this fucking can of beans. And he was like, you gotta figure it out. And she didn't say fuck because she was 9. But Bean Dad,
it's kind of a piece of shit.
Kind of a piece of shit. I reread the story and I'm like, wow, this is not the way to raise a kid. But at the same time, the reason why we're bringing up Bean Dad is because cancel culture, terrible. People are telling Bean Dad that he's abusing his daughter when in reality all he did was like she didn't eat for a little bit. The same time, people are really focusing on the 6 hours, but they said 6 hours on and off, which implies that they really probably only worked on it like for like 2 hours while they were doing other things, and she would come back to it every now and then to do it. And this is not child abuse. 6 hours is between lunch and dinner.
I mean, I literally don't eat for 18 hours at a time. Like, I'll eat like at like 10 in the morning, and then I don't eat until like 1 in the morning. So it's like...
But the biggest part of this story about Bean Dad is don't be a anti-Semite, because if you post about how the Jews are gonna fucking like take over the world, and that like that person's probably a Jew because they're not funny and they suck to be around, then you're probably gonna make people upset with your fucking bean story, and then like from there people are gonna uncover your tweets.
That's the funniest part about this whole thing. Like, everyone's like, man, Bean Dad, they're treating him the wrong way, like he's not abusing their kids, and then it's like they uncover
like,
like
tweets
this
guy really hates
he's
Jews.
Like he's like, Jews deserve to be burned alive, or like some crazy shit. Like, cancel Bean Dad, okay?
Yeah,
like,
I'm fine
right
canceling
now.
Bean Dad, but the real moral of the story is that if you're going into the world of podcasting, you are not like, you gotta vet your hosts. How many anti-Semitic tweets do you have from 2013, Dana?
Probably none.
Probably none. None. Jesus, none. I know you. Okay, what we're trying to say is that you got to know your podcast co-host. You got to know that if your podcast co-host goes on a bean rampage, then they're not going to have terrible
Well, I don't
things.
have any children, and I hate beans, so...
Yeah, there we go. And you also didn't post anti-Semitic tweets. And you also didn't post anti-Semitic tweets. I don't know why I keep saying Semitic. But yeah, you're not a scumbag. So there we go. That's the moral of the story. If you're gonna post a story that people hate about beans on the internet and like not be a great parent, you probably also shouldn't have like terrible opinions on stuff from 7 years ago. The real moral of the story, and the reason why we're bringing this up, because of this episode's getting spicy, like really, really spicy, is because the whole Trump the whole Trump insurrection thing happened on National Bean Day.
Dude, like, ruined, like, the number one, like, this is the most important day of the year for me, fucking Bean Day.
No, are you sure it didn't happen because it was Bean Day? People were hyped up?
They're like, beans,
That's like,
we're the capital.
It's like one of those things where it's like,
dude, what if this was fucking, like, Bush baked beans, like, was actually the one behind all this?
Bushed baked beans. Like, you know that dog in the commercial?
George Bush?
Ha!
Baked beans?
This shit goes deep, okay?
Where do we even go with that?
So the thing is, like, you ever watching like some shit go down and like you're kind of standing back because you don't want to like actually get involved, but like it's your birthday, so you'll become part of that flash mob that storms the Capitol.
No.
Well, it's like that with Bean Day.
What?
It's like that with Bean Day.
What's like what with Bean Day?
With the whole birthday argument. Everything I said
birthday?
made logical sense, except for the, like, just take the gap. Just, you can't see my gestures right now, but I'm like really gesturing hard at Dana.
I've been sipping on wine this entire podcast, so I'm just like, what?
No, the thing is, like, I feel like you're being gaslit right now because I'm making absolutely no sense, and I'm just telling you, oh, this makes sense, and you're like, oh, it must.
Really, you said something about Bean Day and birthdays. Like, whose birthday? My birthday's in 2 days.
Oh shit! I'm gonna insert a birthday song right here.
Birthday.
It's gonna be so good, you're gonna cry. Like, The problem with beans is that's like, so there's like starter conversations, there's like how's the weather, and then there's like finishing conversation, like the word beans. Like it's really hard to go anywhere from beans, you know?
I mean, we can talk about fucking Caillou kind of looks like a bean.
I mean, like the problem with like Caillou's kind of like the Hydra, right? Like you have Caillou canceled, the most hated show. So like children obviously have opinions on shows, but like adults have to watch the shows with children, and like
Caillou is literally the worst show of all fucking time. It's literally him crying to get what he wants. Like it's like, ha, Caillou, he cries, he's a little bitch because he doesn't get what he wants, ha ha. And it's like parents hate it.
Yeah, but like they cancel Caillou and like they introduce in its place Big Penis Man.
This is an actual show.
I don't think it's called Big Penis Man. It has a German name.
But it's like a German show where this guy, he like gets into hijinks and he uses like his penis as like a lasso, or like he'll hang it from like a helicopter to like get somewhere and like save people with his like obscenely long penis. This is an actual kids show in like Europe. And it's supposed to teach kids in a funny manner about
what the fuck are we talking about? Like what happened? We had like talking points. I was going to talk about how Game Explain was exploiting its staff, not paying them and crunching them. I was going to talk about how there's like Twitch plays Pokemon, but it's Pokemon. Twitch plays Pokemon, but it's actually on like a Twitter thread. I was going to talk about how like there's not Cyberpunk, like the one we've been talking about forever.
This is what so you I think people are used to this now. When we just get into bean talk, man, shit just goes off the fucking rails.
I mean, I landed on the Cyberpunk discussion, so we could talk about that. I really want to talk about Cyberpunk, and I'm really reaching here because there's no actual Cyberpunk news. So let's talk about a different game named Cyberpunk. So have you heard of the game? Have you heard of Sense, a Cyberpunk Ghost Story?
Definitely not, no.
So it's this one indie game that it's been out for a little bit, but they recently were going to port the game to Switch, and it's getting a massive amount of controversy because like...
Oh yeah, I saw this. It like the people have like really big boobs and everyone's like really upset about it.
It's like literally a normal game, except like the women are so unbelievably hypersexualized that like it's honestly, I would feel embarrassed playing it.
Yeah, but it's like things like Honey Pop exist and stuff like that. They're literally like hentai like puzzle games and stuff like that. So it's like I don't know how to feel about it. Like I can understand being upset, but at the same time, it's like I don't think companies should be canceled over deciding like an artistic or like specific like type of game.
It's really upsetting because like I'm a huge fan of the series and I really want to be able to play this on my Switch like on the go. And
like, are you actually?
No, the game has like the fact that like I'm even bringing this up is like really good for the game because like the game has like a 50 on Metacritic, and Metacritic's not the end all be all, but like it's one of those games that's very mediocre but it's very elevated by the quote unquote plot. Let's just say that. Like I remember this game used to be like this type of game used to be a lot more popular. Have you ever played like Dragon's Crown for the PS3?
I have not, no. What is it?
It's just like a standard beat 'em up, but it just so happens that like the women in the game have like literal Q cups. Just like it doesn't really affect the gameplay at all, but it's like it's okay. I mean, like it's like have you played Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3, right?
Yeah. I played the original one when that came out.
I mean, it's like it's a great volleyball simulator, but it just so happens that like they have like extremely realistic boob physics.
Busty boobs, yeah. I don't know how to feel about it though, because like at one point I can understand why people think it's like, yeah, it's kind of like hypersexualizing women. At the same time, you don't really see many games where they hypersexualize men. But at the same time, like every time you see like a fighting game, like the dudes have like ripped fucking abs, like shirtless, like stuff like that, that can be considered like hypersexualized for like the other sex and stuff like that. So it's like, and then at the same time, it might just be like an artistic or stylistic choice. Maybe you're just a horny dude that likes seeing like busty chicks. That's like, oh, busting ass. It's like, I don't think you're necessarily trying to like objectify women, but you're just like, oh, this is cool, like fucking boobs, babes, and like fighting and shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, the thing about like, I really hate when people criticize Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball 3 or whatever it's called, because there aren't that many games that have really tried to go hyper realistic in terms of the sport of like butt wars or whatever it is when they use their butts to like try to knock each other off the podium.
Yeah,
I forget the exact name, but it's a very, very, very well known and very popular sport, hyper competitive. Yeah, so there are ways to make butt wars with a Z. You don't have to have skimpy outfits, but like if we're talking realistic, like you're playing that game in a bikini, and like what is the point of making a game where you're not even like taking it like.
So is this game like, are people upset about this game because they're like in Q cups? Like if they were like normally proportioned women, do you think people would be far less upset, or is it just because they're like anime style, like obscenely like proportioned?
I feel like people wouldn't be upset if Cyberpunk wasn't in the news. Like, do you think that the rage at Cyberpunk for PS4 and PC translated to Cyberpunk rage on Switch?
I mean, that's definitely possibly a thing. Like, people were already, like, directing their anger. Like, if Cyberpunk and then someone else does Cyberpunk and boobs, I'm mad because people are already mad, so.
Yeah, I mean, like, I honestly think that the internet's, like, more mad than usual right now.
Because we're all stuck inside. Like, we've been stuck inside fucking, like, shit posting on Twitter for the past, like, 11 months. Like, what the fuck are we supposed to do?
Actually, that's a fair point. I mean, like, I feel like a lot of stuff that's been bubbling up under the surface is, like, really coming to a head now. I mean, like, obviously, with a fucking siege to the Capitol, like, there's, like, that one tweet that's like, oh, I didn't see this escalating gradually over the past 4 years. Like, things that have obviously been going towards a certain path have like really come to light, like especially like in the video game industry where like you see like crunch as a part of life really bubbling up and like people being like, this is really not an okay practice. I know I said some like really dumb shit last podcast regarding crunch, how crunch like makes better products. I didn't mean that. What I meant to say was that crunch leads to more features in a product. Like you can't have a game like Fortnite where like everything changes every 2 weeks without crunch.
No, without crunch, it would just never get done. Like you have to like hate your life to get shit done for the profit of the company.
But it doesn't necessarily mean a better game. Like if you crunch towards the creation of Cyberpunk, people are not going to be able to put like their actual passion in it. That's why like certain indie games like Hades are so well received. It's due to the fact that like the developers actually are able to have healthy relationships with their families, which is pretty dope.
Yeah,
from a work
they
perspective.
just make good games. I've been wanting to play Hades, to be honest. I've never played it yet. I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, didn't win like, or did it win Game of the Year? No, Last of Us 2 won Game of the Year, and people were upset about that. But I mean, like, yeah, you're even seeing that like go into YouTube drama. Like I mentioned very briefly as I was ranting about why the fuck we were talking about bean related violence. And so Game Explained is apparently like a terrible organization to work for. That's why like
the fuck is Game Explained?
You've never seen like a trailer will be like, we're revealing 5 Smash characters, then it's like a 3-hour video by Game Explained like what the new Smash characters could be on YouTube.
I've never seen it.
Oh really? Okay, it's a popular YouTube channel.
It's probably something that's in my recommended that I would probably know of if I saw it.
Yeah, it's under extreme fire due to the fact that like it's very unhealthy as a working environment, but I feel like this is just like part of the new, oh my god, I don't want to say new normal, but like this is like,
it's just gaming culture, like as far as like gaming creation and dev work and stuff like that, just seems kind of gone in this direction.
It's not even just gaming culture, it's like gaming culture and like media around games, like the world of games journalism, the world of games, like YouTube videos. Like these large organizations have definitely been like exploiting people. Like, do you really think that many people are making a profit off like a did you know gaming video? I'm not
absolutely
throw them out of under the bus, but like
I actually had a kind of interesting conversation kind of in the same realm with my coworker the other day, and he's like, oh, movies this, movies that. I'm like, video gaming is actually a bigger industry than like movies nowadays. Like almost the amount of money they make or generate with video games is more than that of movies, because like a lot of video games are like movies themselves. It's just a form of media where you're like watching something except you're playing through it and stuff like that.
I hate to say it, but you might be a little bit of a boomer.
Why?
Because so I'm like listening to the Mega 64 podcast like from the beginning, and so like I'm on episodes from like 2009, and I literally remember like hearing like a week or two ago like Rocco complained that every single time, Rocco is like one of the main people on Mega 64, but Rocco is complaining that like he can't talk to his family about what he does. This is in 2009, this is over 10 years ago. He can't talk about what he does because every single time they're like, oh, video games, how's your video game coming? You know that video games actually make more money than movies now. And it's like, this is literally in 2009.
Well, no, my coworker was something around the lines of like, no one gives a shit about video games, like type thing.
I feel like there are gonna always be people who are like that, but like it's just like that like 70-year-old man who's like, back in my day, we listened to the radio. It's just people are gonna cling to the past.
Well, I'm saying video games are better.
Oh, video games are better
versus stupid poopy movies.
Stupid poopy movies. Poop 2, the poopening.
On Pornhub.
No.
No!
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked it a lot, make sure to rate us 5 stars on iTunes and subscribe on whatever podcast app you use. Here's Dana with a ditty.
Diddy, 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 look at my titty. Give us 5 stars so we can go fars.
That and more if you continue to support.